Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at how talent acquisition strategies evolve as companies grow and change. And to help us navigate all this, we're using this framework called spiral dynamics. It's a really cool way to kind of think about the personality of a company as it grows and changes and reveals clues about leadership, culture, and the kind of talent it needs to succeed.
Yeah, what's fascinating about spiral dynamics is that it helps you understand not just what kind of talent you need, but why you need it at a particular stage. So it's about understanding the underlying values and motivations that drive behavior at each stage.
Okay, so let's break this down. Imagine you're a company like just starting out, like a tiny little startup, maybe working out of somebody's garage. You're probably in survival mode, really focused on getting things done, and you haven't really even thought about formal HR processes yet. This is what Spiral Dynamics calls the Beige Stage.
Right, exactly. At the Beige Stage, hiring is all about practicality and trust. You need people who are resourceful, adaptable, and willing to wear a lot of hats. So it's really about assembling a small team, a close-knit crew, people that can navigate the uncertainties of those early days.
So it's less about very specific skills and more about finding those people who have that, scrappy, get-it-done mentality. And a lot of times those early hires, they come from personal networks, right? Like friends, family, people you already have that strong connection with.
Absolutely. I mean, trust is paramount at this stage. And, personal connections provide that foundation. You're building a team that feels more like a family than a traditional corporate hierarchy. And even as the company grows, those early stage values of trust and those close relationships, they often carry through to the next level, which is known as the purple stage.
So you don't just suddenly flip a switch and abandon those close-knit dynamics as you grow. But I am curious about, at what point does a strong leader typically emerge? When do we start seeing those more directive, top-down leadership styles?
That often coincides with what Spiral Dynamics calls the red stage, where power and control become central themes. So think of it as like a fast-growing startup led by a charismatic founder who has a bold vision for the future. At the red stage, hiring decisions are really influenced by the leader's preferences and their assessment of who can best execute their vision.
So it's not so much about fitting into a predefined culture as it is about aligning with the leader's style and thriving in that kind of dynamic, sometimes unpredictable environment.
Exactly. And you often see those leaders attracting people who are drawn to that kind of energy, people who are bold, ambitious, and comfortable taking risks.
But as a company matures and grows more complex, it can't rely solely on that top-down approach forever, can it? At some point, you need more structure, more organization to manage that growth.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's where what's called the blue stage comes in. It's like the company is transitioning from a free-flowing jazz band to a well-rehearsed orchestra, where everyone has their part to play and the conductor sets the tempo.
Oh, I love that analogy. It really captures that shift towards more process, more order, and clearly defined roles. So if we're thinking about talent acquisition, what are some of those key traits that you'd be looking for in a company in the blue stage?
Well, reliability, consistency, a strong work ethic, those are all highly valued at this stage. You need people who understand the importance of following procedures, working within established hierarchies, and contributing to a well-oiled machine. Think of like large corporations with their detailed job descriptions, standardized training programs, and, regular performance reviews.
It's all about creating that sense of stability and predictability, which makes sense as a company grows and needs to manage more and more complexity. But eventually, wouldn't all of that emphasis on structure start to stifle innovation? Like, how do companies avoid getting stuck in that blue stage rigidity?
That's a great question. And it often leads to the emergence of the orange stage. Imagine the company is now facing increased competition and needs to find new ways to stand out. So they need to inject some of that fresh energy, embrace innovation, and really focus on achieving ambitious goals.
So it's like they're trading in that well-rehearsed orchestra for a team of daring entrepreneurs, each one pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And at this stage, attracting top talent becomes incredibly competitive. So you see companies showcasing their innovative culture, offering competitive salaries and benefits, really highlighting those opportunities for growth and recognition. They're looking for those high performers, those driven individuals who want to make a tangible impact and, be rewarded for their achievements.
So it's not just about finding somebody who can follow instructions. It's about attracting those who can think outside the box and drive results. But amidst all that focus on achievement, do values and company culture take a backseat?
Not necessarily. In fact, this focus can also lead to the emergence of what's called the green stage. And that's where companies start to realize that. Success isn't just about profits. It's also about creating a positive and inclusive work environment.
So it's like finding that sweet spot between achieving those ambitious goals and cultivating a sense of purpose and belonging.
Exactly. And attracting talent at this stage involves highlighting your company's values, its commitment to diversity and inclusion, and its focus on employee well-being. People are increasingly looking for companies that align with their personal values and offer a sense of purpose beyond just a paycheck.
It's like people want to feel good about where they work and know they're contributing to something meaningful.
Absolutely. And understanding the green stage can be really crucial for attracting and retaining top talent in today's world. People want to work for companies that are making a positive impact and fostering a sense of community.
This is all so fascinating. We've journeyed from that scrappy startup and survival mode all the way to companies that are prioritizing purpose and values. But I have a feeling this spiral dynamics journey doesn't stop there, does it?
It does not. There's still a couple more stages to explore, where companies embrace even greater complexity and strive for higher levels of impact.
Well, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a pause here and we'll come back in part 2 to delve into those later stages of spiral dynamics and see how they shape talent acquisition strategies. Okay, so we've made it through the first 5 stages of spiral dynamics, and we've seen how companies kind of evolve from that survival mode all the way to embracing innovation and purpose. But there's more, right? What happens when companies have to handle even greater complexity and adapt to all this constant change?
Yeah, that's when we start getting into what spiral dynamics calls the yellow stage. Imagine our company has now gone global, operating in different countries with diverse cultures and markets, and it's no longer enough to just follow a set playbook. You need people who can navigate this intricate web of systems, connect the dots, and come up with creative solutions to those ever-evolving challenges.
So they need a team of master strategists who can see that big picture and anticipate those next level chess moves.
Exactly. In the yellow stage, companies are looking for individuals who can think critically, challenge assumptions, embrace ambiguity. They value independent thinking, adaptability, a willingness to experiment. Traditional hierarchies start to loosen up a bit, and autonomy and flexibility become really key drivers of engagement.
So it's less about fitting into a rigid structure and more about finding those people who can thrive in that dynamic, ever-changing environment. What kind of companies would you typically see operating at this stage?
Well, companies like Amazon, with its rapid expansion into new markets and constant innovation, they're a good example of the yellow stage. They need people who can think on their feet, adapt to different cultures, and really thrive in a decentralized decision-making structure.
So it's like they're building a network of these nimble thinkers, each one empowered to contribute their own unique expertise to solve those really complex problems. But even with that emphasis on adaptability and innovation, I imagine there's still this desire for something more, a deeper sense of purpose that goes beyond just achieving those business goals.
You're absolutely right, and that brings us to what's considered kind of the pinnacle of spiral dynamics, the turquoise stage. Here, companies are driven by a really profound sense of purpose, a desire to make a positive impact on the world and contribute to something larger than themselves.
So it's not just about selling products or services. They're using their business as a force for good. It's like that neighborhood cafe we talked about earlier has evolved into a global movement advocating for fair trade practices and supporting sustainable agriculture.
Exactly. At the turquoise stage, you see companies attracting talent by aligning their mission with those global issues, like sustainability, human rights, social justice. They're looking for individuals who are passionate about making a difference and want their work to have a meaningful impact on the world.
It's amazing to see how a company can go from just trying to survive to actually striving to change the world. But with all of these different stages and talent needs, it can be kind of overwhelming, to know where your company fits in and how to approach talent acquisition effectively.
Yeah, and that's where the real value of understanding spiral dynamics comes in. It's not about finding the right stage or judging one stage as being better than another. It's really about recognizing where your company is now, understanding the unique talent needs that come with that stage, and then using that knowledge to build a thriving team.
So it's more about self-awareness and adapting your approach based on your company's current stage of evolution. It's like having this roadmap to guide your talent acquisition strategy.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't just valuable for companies. It's also incredibly useful for individuals who are navigating their own careers.
Oh, tell me more about that. How can understanding spiral dynamics help someone find a job that truly aligns with their values and work style?
Well, let's say you're someone who thrives in a very structured, process-driven environment, like in the blue stage. You value stability, clear expectations, and contributing to a well-oiled machine.
You probably wouldn't be very happy in, like, the free-flowing experimental environment of a yellow stage company.
Exactly. But if you understood spiral dynamics, you could target companies that are operating at that blue stage frequency, where your skills and personality would be a natural fit. It's like using spiral dynamics as a compass to guide your career choices. And find a company that aligns with your values and work style.
That is such a valuable insight. It's not just about finding any job, it's about finding the right job. A job that, really energizes you and allows you to do your best work.
Absolutely. And understanding these stages can really empower you to make more informed decisions about your career path and find a company where you can truly thrive.
But before we get too far ahead, I want to go back to something we mentioned earlier, that idea that these stages aren't always linear. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's not like companies neatly graduate from one stage to the next in a perfectly predictable way. It's much more fluid and dynamic than that. You might have a company that's primarily operating in the orange stage, driven by achievement and innovation. But they might also have pockets of green stage energy where there's a strong emphasis on values and collaboration.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like different departments or teams might be vibing at different frequencies, depending on their specific goals and challenges.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to look beyond just the overall company culture and observe how different teams operate. You might have a marketing team that's super orange, constantly pushing boundaries, while the engineering team is more blue, focused on structure and process.
It's like having this mini spiral dynamics ecosystem within the company itself. But that brings up a question. How do you manage talent acquisition when you have all of these different stages coexisting? Do you tailor your approach based on the specific team or document?
Absolutely. So instead of looking for a one-size-fits-all candidate, you need to think about the specific spiral dynamics energy of the team that they're going to be joining. So if you're hiring for that orange-driven marketing team, you might look for someone who's comfortable with risk-taking, who thrives in a fast-paced environment and is passionate about innovation. But if you're hiring for that blue-driven engineering team, you might prioritize someone who values process, precision, and who can work effectively within those established structures. It's all about recognizing that different teams need different types of talent to succeed, and understanding spiral dynamics can help you make those nuanced distinctions.
This is so insightful. It's not just about understanding your company's overall stage. It's also about recognizing those microcultures that exist within different teams and adapting your approach accordingly.
And this is where having a partner like UnitiQ can be so valuable. They can help you assess those different team dynamics, identify the specific talent needs, and tailor your recruitment strategies to make sure you're attracting the right people for each unique environment.
So it's like having a spiral dynamics expert by your side, guiding you through all the complexities of building that diverse and high-performing team. Speaking of UnitiQ, I'd love to hear more about how they can support companies throughout this entire spiral dynamics journey.
Yeah, that's a great point. What's so valuable about UnitiQ is that they can adapt their services to meet the specific needs of companies at any stage. So whether you're a scrappy startup in the Beige Stage, needing help with basic HR processes, or you're a global corporation in the Turquoise Stage, looking for strategic guidance on building a purpose-driven culture, UnitiQ can provide the expertise and support that you need.
So they're not just a one-size-fits-all solution. They can tailor their approach based on where a company is on that evolutionary path.
Exactly. They understand the unique challenges and opportunities that come with each stage of spiral dynamics, and can provide tailored solutions to help companies attract, retain, and develop the right talent to really fuel their growth.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much, from the foundational stages of spiral dynamics to its practical applications in talent acquisition and career development. But I feel like there's still so much more to unpack.
You're right, we've only just scratched the surface. But I think we've laid a really good foundation for understanding the power of spiral dynamics and how it can be used to create more aligned and fulfilling work experiences for both individuals and organizations.
Well, on that note, let's wrap up part 2 and invite our listeners to join us for the final part of this episode, where we'll delve even deeper into the nuances of spiral dynamics and explore some really practical tips for applying these concepts to your own work and life. All right, so welcome back for the final part of our spiral dynamics deep dive. We've talked a lot about the theory, but I want to make sure our listeners walk away with some practical stuff they can actually use. So let's talk about how you can actually take all of this and apply it to your own work and, your life.
Yeah, sometimes these big picture frameworks can feel a little bit abstract, so let's try to ground them in some real world applications.
Perfect. Let's say you're a hiring manager and you're trying to build a team for a new project. How can spiral dynamics help you actually find the right people?
Well, the first step is to really understand the spiral dynamic stage of the team or department that you're hiring for. So think about, what are their primary values? What kind of work style do they embrace? Once you have a clear picture of that, then you can start looking for candidates who really align with that specific energy.
So it's not just about finding someone with the right skills on paper, it's about finding someone who will actually, thrive in that particular environment.
Exactly. You could have two candidates with identical resumes, but one might be a perfect fit for like an Orange Stage team, that's driven by innovation and fast-paced decision-making, while the other might be better suited for a Green Stage team that prioritizes collaboration and consensus building.
Makes total sense. It's like matching a plant to the right soil and climate. But okay, how can you actually assess a candidate's spiral dynamic stage during the hiring process?
That's a good question. Well, there's a few things you can look for. First, pay attention to their language and the way they describe their work experiences. So do they emphasize individual achievement, or do they focus more on teamwork and collaboration? Do they seem comfortable with ambiguity, or do they prefer clear guidelines and procedures?
So you're kind of reading between the lines and picking up on those subtle cues that reveal their, values and motivations.
Exactly. You can also ask, behavioral interview questions that can give you some insights into their decision-making style and how they approach challenges. So for example, you could ask something like, tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision with limited information. How did you approach the situation?
Ooh, that's a great one. Because their answer can give you a glimpse into whether they kind of lean towards intuitive decision-making or a more structured, data-driven approach.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, it's not about judging one approach as better than another. It's about finding the right match for those. Specific team dynamics.
This is so helpful. It's like you're giving hiring managers the secret decoder ring to unlock the, hidden potential of each candidate. But this knowledge isn't just for hiring, is it?
No, not at all. Understanding spiral dynamics can be really helpful for managing teams, navigating organizational change, even resolving conflicts.
Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how can it help with those aspects of work?
Well, let's say you're leading a team and they're going through a period of rapid growth and transition. Understanding spiral dynamics can really help you anticipate some of those challenges that might arise as a team kind of evolves from one stage to another.
Right, like if a team is moving from a blue stage, where there's that emphasis on structure, to a more orange stage, where the focus is on innovation, you might start to see some tension between those who prefer, those clear guidelines and those who want more freedom to experiment.
Exactly. And by understanding those underlying dynamics, you can proactively address those tensions and create a much smoother transition.
It's like having a map that shows you the potential roadblocks and detours along the way, so you can kind of navigate them more effectively.
Exactly. And this knowledge can also be really helpful for, individuals who are navigating their own careers.
Right. So let's switch gears and talk about that. How can understanding spiral dynamics help someone make more informed decisions about, their career path and what they want to do?
Well, it can really help you identify those companies and roles that align with your values, your work style, your aspirations. So for example, if you're someone who thrives in a more collaborative, purpose-driven environment like we see in the Green Stage, you probably wouldn't be very happy in a really competitive, results-oriented, Orange Stage company.
Right. It's about finding the right puzzle piece that fits perfectly into the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And you can use this knowledge to target companies that are operating at a stage that really resonates with you. So pay attention to their mission statements, their values, the way they describe their culture. Look for clues that suggest their spiral dynamics stage aligns with your own.
Such great advice. It's like a secret weapon you can use in your job search. But even if you find yourself in a company or a role that doesn't perfectly align with your stage, understanding spiral dynamics can still be helpful, right?
Absolutely. It can really help you make sense of the dynamics that you're observing. navigate those challenging situations, and maybe even influence positive change within your organization.
So it's like having this superpower that lets you see the world through a different lens and understand those like hidden forces that are at play.
I love that analogy. And, remember, spiral dynamics is not about finding the right stage. It's about embracing growth, evolution, and that constant dance between different ways of being.
Yeah. So it's not about achieving some kind of static perfection. It's about recognizing that we're all on this journey of learning and growth, individually and collectively.
Beautifully said. And by understanding spiral dynamics, I think we can all navigate that journey with more awareness, more intention, and maybe even, have a little fun along the way.
This has been such a great conversation. We've explored the power of spiral dynamics, from its kind of foundational principles to its practical applications in talent acquisition, team management, and career development. But most importantly, I think we've highlighted the importance of self-awareness, understanding different perspectives, and embracing the fact that work and life are constantly evolving.
I couldn't agree more. And I hope our listeners feel empowered to use this knowledge to create more fulfilling and impactful work experiences for themselves and the people around them.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are ready to apply these concepts to your own journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.